Hi, my name is Shannon Mamer. My married name is Papa. I need to change my name legally with the state, but I am married and I have a wonderful husband who supports me through all of this, but he doesn't know how to help me with all that I'm going through, and I am in so much pain. I just got done with physical therapy, and I do 40 minutes of physical therapy twice a week, and it's not enough to help with everything I'm going through. And so I'm gonna start recording stuff like this. I need to start writing letters to the governor of Colorado. I need to start writing letters to my senator, and I need to start writing letters to the mayor of Colorado Springs, which is where I live. I am in so much pain all the time. I have a soft tissue disorder called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos. And I'm not allowed to have as much pain medication as I need, and I get that I'm like super fucking lucky because I get any at all, and like a lot of people have to live with this without any pain medicine because they don't believe us because of how painful this is. They don't believe us, and I don't know how else to make somebody understand the level of pain that is involved with this condition. And for the past few weeks, I've been having pain that radiates from my left trapezius up the side of my neck and into my jaw, and it's creating like really bad pain, worsening my TMJ issues. And I've had TMJ since I was like 13. I was diagnosed with it after I got my braces off. I think my braces and probably spacing retainers helped contribute to the severity of the issue. I also have like really bad vision issues. I have to wear glasses, like these are my glasses, and then I have prescription sunglasses. And right now, in addition to my jaw and my neck being all messed up, I had sinus surgery, my second sinus surgery. I think it was in September or August. I don't know, because the memory issues have gotten really bad. Any sort of like specialist or anything like that I have to go to, it takes months to get into. I have when I say months, like that's months of waiting after years of actually trying to get somebody to send you to these doctors. There's a place in town called Peak Vista, and I went there for a really long time for my health stuff because that was the only place I could afford, because we're on Medicaid, and like doctor after doctor rejects you if you're on Medicaid because you don't make enough money to matter. And for a really long time, the doctors wouldn't send me to rheumatology because, I didn't have elevated anti-nuclear antibodies. And I have to constantly be, diligent enough to be smarter than my doctors because I know that there are rheumatological conditions and things that rheumatologists treat that don't present with elevated anti-nuclear antibodies. And I don't understand why I have to be smarter than my doctors when I didn't go to school for this. Like, I have an associate's degree in graphic design. And I swear to God, if I could ever get better to where I felt well enough to go back to school, I would go to school to be a doctor because I understand this more than most of my doctors do. And the doctors that I get that are understanding and compassionate are doctors like my therapist and my physical therapist, and they can't help you with medicine because they don't have that kind of authority. I am constantly vilified and accused of being pill-seeking because the best thing that works for my pain are opiate medications, and doctors will lie to you. Doctors lie about how dangerous opiates are. I can't keep being lied to when I know that that's what's happening. We have 5,000 years of evidence of use of opium for pain and anxiety and all kinds of conditions, and our current laws are based out of racist lies about how dangerous opiate medication is, and then they lie to us now about the dangers of taking a benzodiazepine with an opiate. And that's a fucking joke, because they feed us these statistics that are wrong, and they feed us these statistics like we're supposed to just believe them and trust them and never question this shit. And then when you tell a doctor, when you go in and you say, like, my pain is a 10 out of 10, they basically accuse you of being a liar and a pill seeker, because if your pain was a 10 out of 10, surely you'd be in the hospital trying to get help. Except that most of us have learned that if we go to the hospital asking for help, the hospital's not going to help us, and the hospital's going to accuse us of being pill seeking in the hospital. And it's probably going to send us home without helping us in any way. And I know this because I've done it. I've been to the hospital, and for years I went into the hospital, like, begging for imaging. And not even, like, medicine, nothing for help with the pain or the anxiety that the pain causes, and they don't care. I've been told when I've gone into the hospital to ask for imaging because I was in so much pain and I needed to know why, that if they put me in the machine to do the imaging, then like maybe somebody who's having a heart attack or a stroke wouldn't have the machine available to them because I was in it, and then that person would die of a stroke. And then they'll refer you out to a doctor that doesn't take your insurance, or like say by some fucking miracle the doctor does take your insurance, that there's like months of waiting before you have to go see this doctor, before you can actually like get on their schedule. And I just had like a 40-minute physical therapy appointment, and it's not enough. I go to physical therapy twice a week for 40 minutes, and that's supposed to help, and like Medicaid is like waiting to take that away from me as soon as they possibly can. And when I try to tell them that there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to not need physical therapy, like, I'm sure they have a problem with that. I need at least an hour of physical therapy, probably 3 times a week, just to try to keep up with the things that go wrong. My knee right now is swollen. I had an MRI of my knee on Tuesday. And my knee decides, like every few months to swell up and go out to where I can barely walk. And so I have, a cane that I have to use. I'm on and off my cane, pretty regularly. And my low back goes out, my neck goes out, my knee goes out. I have 2 ribs on the right side of my rib cage that'll dislocate, and then that'll make it to where I can barely breathe for a few weeks. And I had a psychological evaluation a few months ago. And in the psychological evaluation, it was pretty obvious for the psychologist to see that I am suicidal because of all of this. Because I am in so much pain all the time, and nobody listens. And then they tell me, they lie to me, and they tell me that opiates are so dangerous, and then they put me on medications like Topamax. And Topamax made my suicidal ideation way worse. And Topamax, I was only able to titrate up to 75 milligrams before I had to stop because, like, my face felt like ants were crawling all over me and biting me, and then my hands felt the same way, and then, I was very emotionally unstable. And then, I just had my second sinus surgery, and they put me on 20 milligrams of prednisone once a day for a week after my sinus surgery. And I had absolute breakdowns. Like, I had panic attacks worse than I've ever had in my life. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And my husband was really confused about what was wrong with me. And so I have to become a researcher, and I have to look up all these things, and I have to, like, search to figure out what's going on with me. And it was the prednisone that time. And nobody warned me that prednisone was going to have, potentially, like, severe psychological side effects. And, like, I had a childhood diagnosis of ADHD, and that was kind of one of the first warning signs of what's going on with me. And for years, I coped with the symptoms of it by using cannabis and being very active. Like, I did yoga, and I rock climbed, and I did acro yoga, and I danced. And then, like, over time, like, all of my ability to do those physical activities was taken away from me because of the pain that I'm in. And I did everything that I did for a really long time in spite of the pain that I was already in, because I started feeling this pain when I was 16. And I'm 42 now. I'm gonna be 43 in June. And I have a son that's about to turn 7. And I don't know if it's my fault. But I have absolutely no idea what quality of life he's going to have because he was diagnosed with ASD level 2. And it took me years of advocating for him just to get him help. I was dismissed for a really long time, and people would just tell me, he's just a boy. This is how boys are. And I knew that there was more to it than that. I knew it was more than just he was a boy. But no one wants to listen to the patient and actually give the patient enough credit to think that maybe the patient actually knows what they're fucking talking about. And I diagnosed myself with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos when I was around 33 or 34. And I was in a bunch of support groups trying to figure out what was wrong. And a nurse told me that I might want to look into that because it sounded like my symptoms matched up. And so, of course, like, I started researching because doctors don't help. And it took me until this year, at age 42. Actually, I guess at the beginning of the year, so 41. To be diagnosed. And again, I was right. It explains so much about, like, why I can completely turned my arm around and why my knee extends too far forward and like my patella doesn't stop it. And then these doctors, they just expect you to sit there and suffer or give you antidepressants. And it doesn't matter if you tell them that, like, my depression is, like, a tertiary symptom. Like, I have depression because I'm in pain and nobody will treat it and nobody will listen. But they have shoved antidepressants down my throat since I was 18 or 19 years old. I started with Prozac and Seraphim, and when I was 27, like, the pain and the depression got so bad that I actually went to the mental hospital and I checked myself in because I wanted to kill myself. And when I was in the hospital, they put me on Wellbutrin, and then Wellbutrin had these really bad psychological side effects, and I began to really act out of character. It's embarrassing to say, but, like, I was being really sexually promiscuous, and I was not behaving with a lot of respect for myself, which is not who I am. And then I had to realize that it was the medication that was doing this to me, and when I stopped taking that medication, that got a lot better. And then, you know, you look at the side effects of these medications now and you realize that there's a lot of stuff that can happen with these SSRI and SNRI medications, and none of the doctors care about those side effects and how dangerous those are. After I met my husband, I went to see a DO in Colorado Springs, and he gives me this arbitrary kind of questionnaire, and he tries to pigeonhole me into a bipolar diagnosis, which has happened multiple times. Like, everybody seems to be more willing to, like, diagnose me as bipolar, which is something that I know that I don't have because I've known enough people with it, and I've known enough about, like, the symptoms and the condition itself, that I know that that's not what's going on with me. I have conditions that mimic the symptoms. ADHD and severe anxiety. And sometimes that can look like bipolar disorder, but it's not it. But this doctor put me on Seroquel anyway, trying to pawn it off as that I needed better sleep. And I do need better sleep, I really do, but a bipolar medication is not the right medication to give to somebody who needs sleep unless they're bipolar. And so that medication had psychological side effects, and it made me irritable and angry and aggressive. And thankfully my husband recognized the change in my demeanor and my behavior, and we were dating at that time. And then he just looked at me and he said, "I don't think that medication is right for you." And that kind of brought me into, more of a reality state. And I realized that he was right. And I stopped taking Seroquel, and all of those side effects went away. And then, like, a year or two ago, I had been on Lexapro, and Lexapro was kind of one of the more successful antidepressants. And when I say successful, I pretty much just mean that it had some of the fewest side effects of anything that I had taken. But I was having this, GI problem, these GI problems, and I would just throw up kind of randomly with what I thought was kind of no trigger, and it didn't make any sense. And a lot of people with Ehlers-Danlos have gastroparesis, because Ehlers-Danlos is a condition that affects all of the soft tissue, and so your intestines are made of soft tissue, and pretty much everything is made of soft tissue. And so I have the opposite of gastroparesis, where I have just gastro dumping, and that has cost me jobs. And then some of the things that I've tried taking over the years, as far as supplements and vitamins and shit like that, has been magnesium, because a lot of what I have going on is muscular, and so it's we'll take magnesium because magnesium's good for muscle spasms and this, that, the other, and all that made me do was end up needing to spend hours in the bathroom. And if you have a job, you can't do that. You can't sit on the toilet in the bathroom for an hour and a half having diarrhea and expect to keep your job. And my employers would think that I just disappeared. They would know where to find me, and then if I tried to explain some of what was going on, there was revulsion. They don't want to hear that you have diarrhea, that you have stomach pain so bad that you can't get off the toilet and do your job. And so you either end up being fired, or you quit before they can fire you, because you know it's coming anyway. And I really wanted to have a child. And my husband and I tried for months to get pregnant. And I was starting to think that I couldn't. And then I finally got pregnant. And then my pregnancy made everything worse. It made my pain level so high I wanted to die. And I was going to Peak Vista, and I was trying really hard to get them to help me. And when you're pregnant and you tell somebody that you're in pain, they tell you to take Tylenol, take acetaminophen. Acetaminophen's the only safe thing you can take while you're pregnant. Which is another lie. because now there's a lawsuit about they're trying to connect acetaminophen use to children with ASD. And a lot of people keep trying to tell me that it probably wasn't the acetaminophen because ASD and ADHD, these are genetic conditions. And while I know that there's potentially a genetic aspect, like we've told women for generations now that Tylenol is the only safe thing to take for pain during pregnancy. But, we also used to tell women that it was safe to smoke while they were pregnant. So, we find out these things are wrong all the time. And, I had been a long time user of cannabis, and I had planned on taking cannabis through my pregnancy because from everything that I could find out, it seemed like honestly the safest option to deal with the pain that I was in. And I told my husband, we had one, maybe two tries to do this based off of how my pregnancy went, and my first pregnancy was so bad that I was like, this is the only one we get one kid. And I feel so guilty because so even in the state of Colorado, where cannabis is legal, if your child tests positive for cannabis, then you're going to have to deal with CPS because they still look at that as abuse and neglect. And so I stopped using cannabis at the beginning of my 3rd trimester to make sure that there wasn't cannabis in my system or in my son's system when he was born. But because I was honest and I told them that I had done it through the first 2 trimesters, I was still in trouble. Even though we didn't have cannabis in our systems when he was born. And after I stopped using cannabis for pain, the pain became so unbearable. And I had to go to the hospital multiple times in my 3rd trimester. And I was in so much pain, and I kept telling them that it hurt so bad, and that when I went to Peak Vista, I had to talk to a different doctor every single time I went in. And so nobody would help me, and I was begging for imaging. Can we please just do an MRI of my neck? You need to know why my neck hurts so bad. And then, the state of Colorado has a program called TANF, which is temporary assistance for needy families. And, because I could not hold my head up long enough to fill out the amount of job applications that the state expected me to, I wasn't allowed to receive TANF. And I had no money, no job, pretty much no place to live because my husband and I, we weren't married when I was pregnant yet, and we separated because of choices that he made that I am not here to shame him for. That, like, we did couples counseling and we worked through it, and we made a lot of progress and we moved forward, and Halloween will be our second anniversary, our second wedding anniversary. But while we were separated, while I was pregnant, I had nothing. I had no car. No one would hire me, even though, like the jobs programs in TANF in the state of Colorado, they just said lie to prospective employers, lie when you go in for job interviews, and lie that you're not pregnant. And it was the biggest fucking joke, because I had, like, pretty much normal sized body and a very clearly pregnant belly. And I don't know how anybody was supposed to believe that I wasn't pregnant when I said I wasn't. And I tried, and no one would hire me. And I don't even know, like, if I had managed to find a job, like, how I would have made it work because of the pain that I was in. And so finally, my third trip to the emergency room in my third trimester, I finally had clonus. And they couldn't ignore me anymore. They couldn't say, like, you're lying just to get pain medicine and you're fucking disgusting for doing it because you're pregnant. And they prescribed me oxycodone through the end of my pregnancy. And my son was born dependent on opiates, and he had to withdraw in the NICU. And he was in the NICU for 8 days, and he was born with a pneumothorax, and he was sent home on oxygen, and, like, it was one of the worst things I've ever been through in my life. And I went through 36 hours of labor trying to have a vaginal delivery, and my cervix never dilated past 7 centimeters, and you're supposed to get all the way up to 10. And so I spent 36 hours in labor just to end up having a C-section. And when my son came out, I thought he was gonna die, because he was limp and blue. And he was born on his due date, like the very due date that they gave me. And everybody kept asking my mom, who was there in the delivery room, like, is he preterm? Is there anything wrong? Like, was there anything diagnosed? And my mom's like, no, like, today was the day that he was supposed to be born, and there was nothing that was diagnosed, like, during her pregnancy. And then I had to deal with CPS anyway. Like, I was investigated by CPS for child neglect for the prescription medications that I was given. And then after my son was born, I went to a pain management place here in town, where they proceeded to essentially shame me for having been put on oxycodone during my pregnancy. I remember very clearly a nurse telling me, like, I can't believe that, like, they let you take this while you were pregnant, and me just thinking, like, what was I supposed to do? When a woman is pregnant, like, our health conditions don't go away. And I couldn't get health care until the ACA passed because I was diagnosed with a lot of issues like fibromyalgia and shit like that when I was on my mom's insurance in the late 90s. And then when I aged off of her insurance, everything health insurance related was so expensive for me. And if I was lucky enough to find a job that, if I was lucky enough to find a job that provided insurance, I couldn't afford to use it. The same jackass doctor who put me on Seroquel, I kept asking him for imaging, and he sent me in for blood work that cost thousands of dollars, and the insurance company that I had at the time only covered half of it, so that put me on the hook for $2,000 in medical expenses. And at the time, I was making about $9 an hour. And so I don't know how I'm supposed to afford that. And I don't know how I'm supposed to afford any of this shit. And I'm gonna go for now because I need to go home and I need to sit down and I need to put ice on my back and I need to rest. But I'm gonna make more of these videos because I know there's a lot of us out there who need to know that we're not alone. Oh. I'm sorry I can't remember her name right now, but there was a woman who made a video about being denied her medication for her headaches because she could potentially get pregnant, and she was in her car in a lot of the state of upset that I'm in right now, and I just want to send my love to her and anybody else who has to deal with the shit that we're going through. And I want to send my ire to organizations like the Ehlers-Danlos Society, because I know that gal had EDS as well. And I know a lot of us with Ehlers-Danlos are in so much pain. And the EDS Society refuses to advocate for methods of pain relief that actually make fucking sense. We're supposed to think ourselves out of all of this. And if we can't think ourselves out of all of this, then we actually need opiate pain medication to get through our lives. There's this ceaseless judgment that we are bad people for it somehow. And it's all lies. It's a lie. I gotta go home.